Hey, this is Gary King here. We're doing a 2020 podcast catch-up. Sarah's been out and about with her girls doing stuff. We've been bouncing things backwards and forwards, and we're just going to have a jabber about things that we've seen, all the usual kind of stuff. And we had a right old laugh doing this again. And this is going to be a two-parter. I keep saying that, but this is going to be a two-parter. Part two, we're talking about prepping. I know a lot of people sort of laugh about that as well, but I think this is something that's being grossly overlooked, even in our community of people that are on this sort of team journey together. I think that a lot of people are overlooking what if something happens. It could be nothing to do with the last couple of years. It could be to do with weather and a storm, hurricanes, anything like that. Are you prepared if something happens, to be able to protect your family and yourself and so on? So that's what we're going to do. So let's get on with it. Hey, this is Gary King here again, and I'm doing a catch up with Sarah because we haven't spoken not properly for a couple of weeks, because you've been doing the mum thing and all that, haven't you?
Yeah, been away and all sorts. Just been crazy busy with the school holidays.
Yeah. So it's given us a little bit of a chance to do some research on other things. Well, not other things, but kind of everything that we kind of like to get our noses into. And we just thought we'd do like a catch up rather than any specific sort of categories. But there is one thing that I've been talking about for a couple of weeks now, which is about prepping. So we're going to talk a little bit about prepping and give you some links for some people to go and check out who really know their stuff, because I think it's very, very important. You know, all this talk. I'm going to use that talk song, the talk song by the band Talk, right? Lots of talking, but nobody's prepared for when the tornado comes, right? So we're going to talk.
You.
Well, I don't know about me, but we're getting there, aren't we? So we're going to talk a bit about that, and then we're going to talk a little bit about a couple of posts that we've seen recently, and give a big thumbs up to a channel, Truth is the Contagion. They did a great thing on this list of heart attacks and illnesses and what to beware of. I mean, it literally is like watching Benny Hill, isn't it? I mean, the comedy element of it's just ridiculous, right? Okay, so we're gonna have a little chat about that, and then also a little bit more about our new man, or not really new man, but Mr. E, and the fakeologist, which we both find very, very entertaining and a mass of information, and very simple to follow as well. Yeah. So all the elements put together: reality, negativity. What's the reality of things? You know, just because you look at things in a realistic way doesn't mean you're being negative. You know, you can't put a positive spin on everything. You've got to look at the reality. So anyway, so the first thing we talk about, because this is fairly new, is that little post made by Truth is the Contagion about all this mass of new symptoms that they're telling you.
I really want to break. Sorry, I'm interrupting you. I really want to break into the song in the background.
Oh yeah, the Fleetwood Mac song.
Yeah, it was perfect, wasn't it?
Perfect, and we'll put a post of it as well, because it's just you know, anybody that really sucks any of this up now. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, come on, you know.
Is it just in Britain that they've given you all of that bullshit, or was that? You know, the Truth is a Contagion. Were they all from the British press, or the latest?
All that lot.
Was all the British?
Yeah, I think because it was all in English, so it's either going to be, you know, it's going to be one of the countries in it. It's either going to be American, Canadian, Australian, New Zealand, or Britain. Because it was all in English. But I'm sure there's probably as much of it going on here, but we never see it because we never turn the telly on. So.
No, I mean, I don't either. I've not got time. Well, I wouldn't want it on anyway.
No.
It's a horrible thing. But and I wouldn't even know what the papers. I don't I wouldn't know what's going on in the papers. I just completely, it's like it doesn't exist to me. So I don't even notice it until something like that gets posted on the alternative media. The list of it all, it's just...
Well, this is basically you explain. What I'll do is I'll download it and I'll credit it, but I'll add it into this little video. But it's basically
everything.
You tell them. Yeah, it's like using the wrong kind of toilet paper is going to give you a heart attack. You know.
Yeah. Looking at a cat can give you a heart attack.
One of them was the noise from aeroplanes flying above can trigger heart attacks.
Getting out the bed the wrong way, was it as well, or getting out of bed?
What was the other one which I thought was hilarious? Oh yeah, sleeping in front of the television.
Yeah,
sleeping.
So basically, all the things that they make you do in this world because you're that dumbed down and you're that like. And you're that programmed, all the things that they've like made you resort to doing, it's gonna now look at you fool, you've gone and caused yourself a heart attack.
So this clip Truth Is put out, which I caught up on. I don't know actually who put the whole thing together, but you'll see it. But they're basically telling you that literally everything that you do every day is going to cause you, or could cause you, because scientific proof, and of course you've got to laugh when you hear that, right? Scientific proof. What I mean, seriously, who actually even believes this now? I mean,
everyone.
I know, that's what I mean. I was being sort of, what's it called, hypothetical or something. I think that's the wrong word, but
they do, don't they? The thing is now, because obviously these the poison darts are causing serious problems now, especially when people have had the fourth, or I don't know if they're on the fifth, or how many they've had now. It's going to cause the body some serious damage. And so now it's like the cover-up, isn't it?
Yeah.
And basically, let's just say everything causes a heart attack and everything causes a stroke. But the thing is, we've got such new levels of stupidity going on that people will argue that. They'll argue it. They'll say that will have happened to a relative. Oh, well, it's probably because they always fell asleep in front of the TV, or they're just buying it all the time.
Yeah, it's like and you were warned, Albert. You shouldn't have been asleep on a Sunday afternoon in front of the telly. You were warned. I mean, fuck off.
It's just, we are in the ultimate lunatic asylum, aren't we?
Yeah.
It is like waking up, and I honestly think every morning when I wake up, oh yeah, I'm here again. Here we go. What's today gonna bring?
But I mean, we had a 39-minute chat before we started this. So
33 minutes, wasn't it?
Was it 33 minutes and 33 seconds? But we probably 33, but my clock's wrong. But Sarah was saying that with her job, some of the people that you're visiting now, you're seeing all kinds of things, and yet people aren't able to tie things together. And you mentioned about I think you mentioned the other day about somebody who thought it was all right to jab her older kids up but not her younger ones.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that is what they say. That is what's happening. So you'll get I mean, it's awful, really. It's just like, well, which one do I prefer, isn't it? I know I'm saying this in it. This is a dark humour, but obviously it's so tragic. But yeah, I hear that all the time. It's like, oh no, I'm not. Well, I've had it. My older one's had it, but I wouldn't give it the younger one. Oh, right, okay. Talk me through that a little bit. And they can't. No. And then I'll say, well, do you know what's? Have you ever looked into what's in the vaccines? Have you ever looked at the ingredients? No. So what I think is something in their soul that's telling them that it's not right. So they don't want to give it that younger. But they will still have it and they'll give it the older one. And it's well, the psychology, I guess, may be that, oh, we're stronger because we're older and all of that. But actually, your younger one's probably going to have the better, chance, because at the older, if you're not looking after yourself and you're on other various meds or whatever, your chance is probably low. And it's like, well, you know what? They actually need their parents as well to look after them.
Yeah.
So, but I've heard that no end of times with my youngest one's schoolmates. Oh, no, I'd never let the young one have it. But I've had it and the older one's had it. All right, okay. I've given up.
The 6-year-old's a no, but the 7's fine.
I know. It's just the reasoning of all this I find absolutely
you said you said another thing earlier on, because we cut it. Yeah, you did. We kind of yeah, you did. We were trying to not throw together, but because so many things happen over a short period of time, don't they?
Yeah.
We were talking a little bit about the old popular controlled opposition, and Sarah brought up two particular characters and said, when you realise what's going on, how is it that certain people that are supposedly helping you push this whole idealism of how to do things, I won't say how to do things properly, but how to be a certain way and everything, are so unhealthy looking? Right.
Is that how I explained it?
Well, kind of. Well, I was trying to put it in a way where you could actually explain it rather than me telling people what you said to me. So yeah, there's a couple of characters out there that we and you're just like, hang on a minute, you're it's kind of like the
you don't look like you're walking the war propelled.
No, it's like the nurse. It's like the nurse that tells the old guy off for smoking, and then she's standing outside at the back of the hospital puffing away, and you're just like, I mean, again, it's kind of hypocrisy, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is
of course
hypocrisy.
Well, it's quite. I mean, the controlled ops, I think they're really quite obvious now. And I mean, I've known people that have been allegedly awake for 10 years and they're still following, let's say, somebody who's quite a notorious controlled op that likes to shout a lot, who's American.
That fat dude.
And it's like, how have you not worked it out yet? Do you know what I mean? You just have to, to be serious, all you have to do, this is what I do anyway. Well, you know what certain topics they won't go near anyway, the controlled ops, so that shows them anyway. And they have to shout a lot, don't they, and make you feel, because they want to put you in like a fear, to put you in that fear vibration, because that's what the controllers do. Yeah, they're just so obvious. And I think if I put something on and they made me feel like uncomfortable, it didn't get a nice feeling, it didn't make you laugh, or it didn't make you feel like, oh yeah, this is like truth. You know what I mean? Truth. When you're in your body, you do.
Yeah.
Straight away, I've never been able to listen to anything that person has ever said, because I just couldn't. As soon as he opened his mouth, he's lying.
Yeah.
If his lips are moving, he's lying.
Yeah.
It's quite obvious.
Yeah.
But was that the answer?
Yeah, basically, you put it a lot more politely than what you said when we weren't recording. Because like you said, the thing is that they had this early push, didn't they, about being healthy, staying healthy, and it's true. If you are relatively healthy, you do, whatever, and things do happen to come along, like I said, if people that eat a lot, breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever, and they do that 7 days a week, all of a sudden, if there's not a ton of food about, it's going to be a lot more difficult for, say, people like that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you should starve yourself or anything. Of course you shouldn't. But again, it comes down to middle ground and moderation, doesn't it?
Yeah. And if you're on this trip, I think people are probably guessing who we're talking about, the American guy. There's probably a trial going on for him at the minute, isn't there? And then you've got the British bit.
That poor bloke's in court. I mean, why would that happen?
Then with we've got the British version as well. It's of a similar ilk. And, you know, if they were truly in this, and you have to put it all together, don't you? You know, the corruption of big pharma, big food, big everything. You have to start looking after yourself, because you don't want to be sucked into any of those beast systems. So if you're really in your truth and integrity, you're going to be not just talking the talk, you're going to be looking good and walking the walk, aren't you? You're not going to be looking like them and yelling and screaming and can't control themselves and all of that. So
Yeah.
I've said that a bit more polite.
And that and that's not a knock on skinny people or larger people or anything like that.
No.
What we're having just bringing up is certain people who are pushing a certain way of thinking, but aren't actually following. And I guess I'm sure we do the same thing. You know, I mean, we're all hypocrites in a way, aren't we? None of us really practice what we preach, but at least we sort of slap ourselves on the back.
My body's a complete temple.
Oh, of course.
I would never put any alcohol or anything on.
When did you have the hangover last? You know, I mean, you got to do a bit of that as well, otherwise you wouldn't know, would you? Right? But you know, but as I said, is that those are things that again I think should be addressed all the time. And you know, we were saying about, like, when I was working in the schools in the States, we pulled together sort of like 4 or 5 main, we called them pillars of success. Right? What is it that makes you a successful individual? And that doesn't mean like money. That just means when you get up in the morning and you know that you've got great things to do that day, and you're going to do them with conviction, and by the end of the day, even if things went wrong, you can say, well, I tried my best. And at the time, you know, we were talking about music, we were talking about how people that run studios, musicians and everything, the concept of it being a job has to be the same as everything else. So it's like, do you have the right tools for the job? Can you use those tools? You know, are you a reliable person? Are you somebody that people can get on with and stuff like that? And everything transfers into the same end result. So whether you're a roofer, whether you fit custom kitchens, whether you're an artist, whether you're a musician, all these things. So we're doing a lot of that. That's why I think I personally see so much hypocrisy, and I'm sure I do plenty of it myself, you know, and if people can pull me up on it, I would go, you know, I said to Sarah the other day, in a few messages that we were sending backwards and forwards, I said, the amount of cock-ups I've made in my life is just unbelievable. I mean, I've started to write it all down. I started to write a book, and some of it's quite funny, right? And when I was in the States, this woman who was a photographer that we used to work with, she actually was telling, and this is the honest truth, she was telling a scriptwriter for a TV show about some of the things that I told her that had happened to me, right? And this bloke thought it was so funny. He said, we ought to make a TV show about this, right? This guy's hilarious. I can't believe he got into so many dodgy situations, right? And none of them were to do with, like, I've never been arrested, I've never done drugs or anything like that, right? So before anybody starts, I've never smoked, I've done none of that crap, right? But of course, if they'd written a TV show about me and all that and so on, I'd have been one of them one-eye whispering dudes, wouldn't I? Like, you know, I'd have been part of the team. But they thought it was so funny, you know, and I was telling them about how I ended up in the States and just cock up after cock up after cock up. But every single thing that went wrong, 99.99999%, as far as you can go, was my fault. It was through bad choices. It was not dotting the I and crossing the T's. You know, I was telling people, make lists, go out and make lists. I wasn't even doing it myself. You know, what a twat.
Do as I say, not as
I
do.
Exactly. But I tell you what, and anybody that knows me, especially people that I've worked with, like my mate Scott in Florida and my mate Tom in the States and my mum and my brother and that, I have never, ever blamed anybody else for anything that goes wrong. It's always my bloody fault, and I am more than happy to stand up and take the consequences, you know? And I think that's one of the things is, if you are like that, you know, you then see through these other people, these shady, lying, two-faced, hypocritical knobheads, don't you?
Yeah, because most people want to say it's everyone else's fault. I'm the same. the queen of cock-ups, and it's
That's why we get on.
Yeah, it's all my fault. And I hold my hands up to that, and I know what my strengths are, and I know what my weaknesses are.
Yeah.
And I can be completely disorganised and away with the fairies.
Yeah.
And it's like it all happens around me. And sometimes at night, my daughter will say, "Oh, it's just we're in Sarah world again, aren't we,
Yeah.
Mum? You know, that's from a 15-year-old." She was like, "We've had this conversation. You know, obviously you'd glazed over again." I'm like, or when I see you talking to someone, you had that glazed over look. Like,
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, we're just, you know, like a lot of people doing this. We're just ordinary people. I mean, somebody said, well, you've said it. You said, "Oh, you know, I'm good at speaking. I'm not really very good at speaking. I just talk a lot. I've had a lot of practice." Well, you're good at talking and speaking as well, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you know, it's like
talking. I'm good at talking.
Yeah, Dom and Chris, you know, they're just a couple of amateurs, but they're very, very good at it, and
Yeah.
they've not practiced it. It's just something that comes naturally, and I think it comes naturally because it's what we're meant to be doing. Our friend Shirley lives up the road. You know, she said that she's listened to, well, she's like 10 years ahead of even what we've been doing, and she said, you know, the thing that we're doing is we should be on the radio. You know, she thinks it's very funny, and I think that's what it's got to be. You know,
Imagine them putting this out on the radio.
On the Beeb. It'd be after midnight, wouldn't it?
It wouldn't get anywhere near it, would it?
No.
Talking about trannies and all sorts.
Oh yeah. Anyway, on that subject, we were gonna also bring up the again. We've been doing a lot of listening to Mr. E and the transpocalypse, and also with the fakeologist. Now, anybody that hasn't gone and checked this out, I mean, it will take you a little bit of time to get into it simply because of the subject matter. But I have to say, and Sarah said the same thing, that Mr. E, this guy, well, I don't care what, you know, there's so many people out there like ourselves sort of doing the same thing, but he pretty much has put what I would say is the four elements together, right? And even though I am nowhere near up on scratch on anything to do with the Bible or anything like that, the biblical connotations that go with this pretty much kind of sign, seal, and deliver the whole package, the whole thing. It's not just about this and it's not just about that, but if you put these four things again together, it kind of pretty much sums it all up.
Yeah.
You know, I don't find, well, the guys we follow, I don't find any of them negative or depressing or anything like that. In fact, the opposite. I find them very realistic, and I find them very, very, very funny. I mean, I've sat up late listening to this stuff in tears. It's so funny. It's so well delivered. You know, Mr. E's a bit of a musician as well, plays a mean guitar, and, you know, my musical background and things, so we might have something a little bit common in that. But, you know, we said about the elements, bringing those elements
my
together.
Musical background of singing karaoke when I'm pissed.
And yeah. What is it? I will survive. I will survive.
No, never that one.
Who was that? I can't remember who did that now. Anyway, the Pointer Sisters.
Oh, yeah.
They were a bunch of trannies
Sorry,
as well, weren't they?
Interrupted you there.
Someone
I've
like
interrupted you. Yeah,
But
sisters, that's a
anything
clue.
with sisters in it is a clue. Thanks, Mr. E.
Or girls.
Yeah. You know, what would you say? I mean, again, putting you on the spot here. There are really pretty much four elements, aren't there? Starting with deception.
I was about to say, I distracted you there, and I was thinking, come on then, what are these four elements that you've put together? And then you fire it back at me and say, what are these four elements? Without telling me what you think they are.
Well,
I think you need to say what they are first, and then I'll tell you if you're right.
Oh, thanks. The first thing is that people have to understand that from day one we've been deceived. You know,
Yes.
that is the first, really, is that, you know, because we looked into, didn't we, earlier on, like the whole Agenda 21 thing, the World
Yeah.
Economic Forum, Schwab, all those characters and everything. But if you
Yeah.
put those all into one big basket, it's just deception, isn't it? That's all it is. You're
Yeah.
being deceived.
Yeah. From the day you're born, aren't you?
Yeah, you're being deceived. And, you know, you have to ask yourself, is why do these characters
Yeah.
want to deceive everybody? You know,
Yes.
can you imagine the amount of work and energy that goes into doing this? I couldn't
I
be
know.
bothered. I couldn't be bothered. I get up on
know.
Sunday morning and go, oh, I can't do this
Yeah.
today. It's
They
driving
kind
me
of, I
mad.
know, they're so scared about us waking up and discovering who we truly are, aren't they?
Yeah,
Really, really scared of that, of us figuring out who we are and why we're here and what it's all about, really. And that's why they distract, don't they, with all the fear that they constantly keep people in with everything, all the materialism and all the dumbing down stuff that they do, which is like constantly what people are constantly bombarded with, aren't they? And they're constantly bombarded with their sort of the slave programs that we're all under.
yeah,
You know, so that keeps everybody in this on this hamster wheel and stops them questioning the bigger questions that, you know, why are we here and what's it all about. But some of us somehow escape that, don't we? I mean, I was doing that from like a little kid, really asking all those questions and
yeah.
wondering. But I thought I do think children probably naturally do that, but maybe some children get like, oh, come on now, you know, stop asking questions, that type of thing. But I was really encouraged by it by my dad because, you know, I've mentioned before, because he was awake. So
Yeah.
I was really encouraged with it. But I guess some people probably thought I was a bit of a weird kid.
But do you think that the on that we listened to the long live podcast with fakeologist and Mr. E the other day, and the fakeologist guy, he said it's not about power and it's not about money. And I was like, he's exactly right. It's about deceiving the world and changing it from how it was meant to be, to something that this group of entities, characters, whatever you want. And that is why this, and of course, once you start looking into the shim thing, the transgender thing, even joking aside, you can see that how they want to indoctrinate and they want to change what we are supposed to be into something else. And that is, whatever way you look at it, whether it's through jib jabs or whether it's through this push of, you know, once somebody no longer identifies as an A or a B, they're now a that's that
they're a they.
Yeah, that's that forward part, you know, movement, and then maybe what the next thing is, I'll start having bits chopped off myself and things like that. But of course, it's not about money, because they just print money left, right, and centre. As that, you know, I mean, it amazes me that people still believe that there's gold in the gold reserve. It's like there's an empty room with a piece of paper in it that says IOU, found it, spent it. That's it. That's what it says, right? But they can make, you know, they just use numbers, don't they, like they've done with everything. But it's not about power and it's not about money, not as power and money as we know it. It's about changing the reality to what they feel it should be.
Not allowing us to really understand what we are and who and what we're about. It's like that is the biggest thing, isn't it, that they're hidden from us.
And I mean, you know, as you've said many times, and so's pretty much everybody that we follow, that we believe in. Just for example, and Chris and Dom from Sheep Farm, they brought this up a long time ago, and we said this the other day. So you got the old COVID-19, but when you type in 91 Divok, which is basically the same thing backwards, it's a Hebrew meaning, right? And there's some sites that say there's no such word, and it's like, really? Well, there is, right? So get over it, or stop working for these people in the first place who are telling you what to put. So it's, anyway, the meaning of Divok is possession of it's basically possession of a malevolent soul. Divok suggests in Latin discrete partition, that's divide, right? Upset, segment, again, which, right? Tear away, open, isolate, obliterate in two. Now, you know, it wasn't a different number, or instead of the D at the end, they put an L or something like that. It's put there purposely for people to see. I wouldn't say 100%, but it also says, right, that it's also that divot means responsibility for a malicious soul, right? So basically what they're saying is that they are indoctrinating you with a demon, right? You know? Now, you could say, well, it is true and it isn't. You go, okay, that's fine. Let's just take that as like 6%. And then you add that thing to all the other things, and you've got like a 90% bucket of information there, and none of that information is good. It's all evil, twisted, and not how we normal people are supposed to live our lives. It's all wrong, and it's very, very easy to find this stuff out. But I told you we went to this big event. It's the first big event we've been to in ages. It's called the Meshwi, so it's a sort of traditional farm event in the evenings, drinks, stuff like that. And a friend of mine's sister was here, and she's a total chemtrail person. You know, she won't go on an aeroplane anymore, and all that. She doesn't trust her government, right?
Yeah.
And we brought up the subject of the old trannies, right? And her attitude was, well, does it really matter? And I'm like, are you kidding me? After everything you've been talking to me about, does it really?
She's not took the shot.
Well, I didn't ask her, but I would probably hazard a guess that she has. Yeah, I would hazard a guess because her brother would have told me. He would have said, "Oh, well, she hasn't," you know, because we have discussed.
But she's awake.
Right, but yes,
she's
exactly.
Awake.
Right, so she said, does it really matter? And I said, well, I tell you why it matters. And she said, why is that? I said, because, and I do love this word, it is an abomination of nature. That's as simple as it fucking gets, mate. It is morally, ethically wrong. It's an abomination of nature. Right, and it's like with everything else. It's like when we discuss the old one eye and the shh and all this crap. Right, don't make excuses for these people. They know exactly what they're doing. But I think what's sad about the transgender thing is there are older people that are doing it, right, who feel that perhaps they're going to be happier and so on, and I can understand that if that's how their brain works. But what really knobs me off is most of the people that we see that come up on these videos, they're basically just abused children. That's what they are. They're abused children. They were taken at an early age, and they were changed against their will. And maybe their parents had the same thing done to them. This has been going on.
Well, it will be because it's generational trauma passed on, isn't it?
Of course it is. You know, and you got these people talking about child abuse and all this kind of crap. And it's like you've got no idea, do you? Sitting around your little desks knitting. You know. Let's make woolly hats for children. You know, and you have no idea.
And the psyops, they use the psyops of people like the Fall Guys, like Prince Andrew.
Yeah.
And they'll say, he was pictured with that youngish, I don't know, she was 17 or something. But really, that's to distract, because the reality is, the real truth is, it's happened to them. It goes on with very young children. The abuse, it goes on with a lot younger children.
Yeah.
And it's actually inherent in them and what their generational trauma and the whole transgendering and what's going on with the dark entities. That's but they'll use the distraction of the Prince Andrews and people like that.
And it's also like even if you really break it, I think if you break it down to the absolute base level, if you're brought up if you're brought up like that, right?
Yeah.
Like we were brought up a certain way and we ended up behaving a certain way. If we'd been brought up, and again, I don't mean this disrespectfully, but if you were brought up in a family where the dad didn't work, the mum didn't work, they all lived on the dole, they got their check each month.
Yeah.
Perhaps the mum was sort of pregnant when she was 16. She's got 2 daughters and everything. Not always, but you often find that they then follow a pattern. It's like what you see with kids with cell phones, with smartphones, their parents are doing it, so they're allowed to do it, and so on. So that's only so that's where I think it's such a tragedy, is that these youngsters you know, from perhaps like 2 years old. I mean, you saw that thing with the American presidents, you know, where they were dressed up as little girls when they were two
Yeah,
years old. Well, they didn't ask to
yeah.
do that. They
No, no.
and it just stems from that, and
Yeah,
it's been going on around for so many
that's it.
years.
And they're not showed out any love, are they? By these, obviously, if they're being that's been done to them. They never know what love is. They never showed that. They never showed compassion, empathy. Then they're in these public schools where, again, they're probably around not everybody, but similar types of personalities. Again, you know, some of the secrets. Well, they're at the certain schools, aren't they, where the Skull and Bones and all those societies and the initiations that they're doing. So all of that then breeds them into these pretty dark characters that then can basically not have any, what's the word, any conscience about lying and deceiving everybody and doing all terrible things to
Well, I just think it's normal,
because
isn't it?
it's all
It's the like again the old the cliches, isn't it? Of like
mm,
you are the company that you keep, and if you've been brought up
yeah,
like that, I guess you can't really
it won't be.
expect anybody. Well,
No.
I mean, you get the odd one or two, I guess, that break out and so on, break away from it, but it is. I think that's the sad thing. I think that's where I think the disappointment for me with adults, a lot of adults, I would say more adults know than don't know that children are being messed about with in one form or another, and really
Mm.
that alone should have been enough to get millions and millions of people to stand up and go, right, that's it, gloves are off. And then, you know, I mean, I know we sort of have approached the thing about the, you know, the authoritarian, like the police, the military, all this kind of stuff, and we know pretty much where most of what side of the fence they're on. But most of these characters have kids, they have families, they have mums and dads, they have brothers and sisters. If they realised straight off, they wouldn't put up with it. I don't think they'd put up with it. You get a few of them, you know, just some really nasty characters. I mean, you got that. There was that movie. I don't know if you ever saw it. I didn't watch it because it's just not my sort of thing. Because I know it's all horseshit anyway. But the boy in the striped pajamas, you know, is this little kid who keeps going into. He manages to sneak into this concentration camp that's run by his dad. You know, who's a Nazi, and then something very bad happens to him, and of course the father doesn't like it, but he's quite happy in the film to fry up other people's children. And then, you know, once it happens to his child, then it's a different story, you know. And that is the reality that a lot of these people are going to have to face when they actually have to face their own demons, so to speak, you know, when they have to look in the mirror and go, hang on a minute, I brought this upon my neighbours, my friends, my family, my brother, my cousin, ordinary people that might work in, you know, a local print shop or something like that.
Yeah.
But it is, like you said, it's indoctrination by, you know, longevity of family
Yeah.
background, isn't it?
Generational
Yeah.
generational trauma, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not that they'd see it as trauma, they see it as generation, that they just see it as their religion.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
they you know, that's their religion, and that's their they see themselves as gods, don't they? And
Yeah.
they want to be worshipped by the masses and put on pedestals, and actually they are, aren't they? They get it, they get what they want.
Yeah, that's what I think we're seeing. What we've found in the last 3 or 4 weeks especially is that everybody's talked about these secret societies, cults and all this kind of thing. Oh, they're this, they're that, the other. But at the end of the day, they all think that they are something special, that their idealisms are far greater than anything that we could even, you know, contemplate. And yet our idealisms are do a bit of gardening, go to the shops, you know. I mean, I don't know one single person that would deliberately do anybody else any harm,
No,
you
I
know.
know.
You know, and so when you look at it like that and you start to put together some of the people that we follow as well, because we're pretty much just what do they call it, mirroring stuff that other people have researched for decades, it's now sort of hitting us, isn't it? And we're like, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense, you know. But
Yeah.
what the other thing that we were going to say
Like a
about,
puzzle, isn't it?
yeah,
It's
of
like a
course it
puzzle.
is, yeah, and who's going to offer us up the pieces to put together? But we said about like going on, you know, going on to the Bible thing. There's so much in that. What I like about again Mr. E is that he's not just sort of read. He's not just read a Bible, and he said he was not religious or anything like that. And I don't mean religious as in, you know, the contrived, you know, all the typical stuff that we see in religion. There are people that I mean, two of our cousins in Australia are. I mean, they're completely, you know, they're devout Christians. They go to Bible studies. They do the whole thing, and these are older people. They jumped in head first when this kicked in. Straight away, they were in. You know,
Yeah.
they what do you think about, you know, you personally? What is it that, why are we thinking different to people who are actually doing pretty much everything that their so-called good book told them not to do? It's a difficult one, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I think. Well, we have, we have mentioned that. I mean, the thing is, I think the Bible, and I don't proclaim to know a lot about the Bible, but it's wrote esoterically, isn't it? It's open to interpretation. I think any organized religion, again, is a
That's it.
program,
Yeah.
and it's a program, and it's used for control, and like everything else, because you don't have everybody in organized religion that are awake to the world, do you?
No.
You know, they're under the spell. They're usually under the spell, and so is the person, maybe the vicar or the, you know, they're still under this spell. They don't really understand what's really going on. So, you know, and I think they showed themselves, didn't they, the certain religious leaders when they were promoting the jab.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then straight away you think that's a red flag, isn't it? You know then that can't be right. So it's I think you come to it, don't you? You know, I've got a family member that's you know, Catholic, and been like that since young, and is at church every week. But you know, she was straight in for the mark of the beast, shall we say? And so you just like, hang on a minute. So this doesn't seem right. And I think you can only come to it through being awakened, and then I think then that's when you can start looking at where the truths are, because it's wrote esoterically, isn't it? And you know, there's all the truths in there, and it's not like you can just like know it like that. It's a journey, isn't it? That you'll keep getting little gems of wisdom, and then you start putting it together and come to your own truth. But I think you can only kind of get there when you look at the truth within yourself.
Do you think that, because I'm convinced of this, and I don't mean this because I think that we're anything special or anything like that, but do you think that in this realm, in this matrix, whatever you want to call it these days, do you think that there are people that are chosen to see the light, and there are people that are specifically picked not to see the light, not to be aware of what's going on around them?
Again, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because I wonder, I think you're always being, there's always little triggers that could awaken you through your life if you were ready for it.
Yeah.
You know, because I look back and I think, oh, that was trying to tell me something. But then it wasn't until I had to have a really big, brutal one when Live 2020 kicked off, when I started putting all of the stuff together that I'd been questioning for a long, long time. But, you know, is it about whether your soul's ripe enough and ready? Is it how real you're prepared to be? Because, I mean, you see a lot of people turn back on this journey, don't you?
Yeah.
You know, they'll look a little bit and then they'll be like, oh, that's enough now. I don't want to know anymore, kind of thing. And then they get stuck in, you know, and probably still listening to the same stuff or they're flooded with information. I've got people that I know, they're that flooded with it. They send me floods of info.
Yeah.
It's just rubbish.
Well, that's why I was saying, that's why I said earlier on that I think that the elements, if you look at the elements, it's like you know, the movie The Fifth Element, right? You know, air, water, fire,
do you know what? I
sand,
think it's come to me now. The elements. So what elements have you got then? You've got them written down, I bet.
No, I haven't. I haven't got them written down. Let's we'll talk about elements. Let's pause this because I need to go for a pee. And we're back.
Right.
Anyway, we've just just back from watering the onions. So you were just saying about being bombarded with stuff. We're being bombarded with stuff all the time, and we're not talking about mainstream stuff here, but we're just talking about stuff. So you've
Yeah.
got the flat Earth, the level Earth. You've got the whole thing about the stars. You've got the whole thing about the planets. You've got the whole thing about the gurus. You've got the whole thing about spirituality. You've got bang, 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 bang.
Germ theory. It's like
One thing after another.
It's trying to unlearn everything that you've ever known and relearn, isn't it? It's an absolute head spinner.
But we were saying about the movie The Fifth Element, the four elements before orange-haired dude turns up. And you got earth, water, fire, and air, right? Well, I think that really there's only four elements in this shite show that we're involved in, really. As I said earlier on, it's the great deception of the public. Not great either, because there's nothing great about it. So if you deceive the public, they'll pretty much buy into anything. So you've got deceit, right? You've got deceit. Yeah. Then you've got with the transgender, gender changing. It's all about changing humanity. Whether it's the transhumanization, whether it's the transgendering thing of young people and older people, or whether it's the, how would you put it, whether it's the old Divok thing, which is obviously going to change people anyway, because that's what it's based around. You've got, obviously, the depopulation thing is in there, because if it wasn't, people wouldn't be dropping like flies all over the place, right? So that is a major part of it. That's number 3. And then I think, like I say, the final thing is ultimate change. That is what they are looking to do, is to completely change everything that us and our generations before us have been brought up on. Change everything. And that includes even the simplest things of where you live, is to change everything to their idealism. There's so much stuff that we've seen where people keep putting one thing after another, after another, after another, after another. It's mind-boggling. Just concentrate on 4 main aspects. Why this is happening, who's doing it, how it's going to affect you, and what is the end result. I mean, really, to be totally honest with you, those lovely little films of those little glistening stars that obviously look like water, does that really matter right now in the big scheme of things? Of course it doesn't. I mean, all we know is, as far as I'm concerned, like I said, is that we are on a flat plane, on a level plane, and we are under a firmament. Whatever is going on above, I don't really know. And whatever is going on above us right now, is it going to help us right in this situation? It may give us a little bit of moral guidance and support, but we have to understand the reality of what these bods are up to and what their end goal is. What do you think?
Yeah, you've got to know the enemy, haven't you, and understand. So you know what you're kind of dealing with. But it's so huge that I think you can. It's not like something, like if somebody said to me, "So can you tell me what you know?" I mean,
where do you start? Where do you start?
Yeah, exactly.
Where do you start?
And it's only the truth for each individual, isn't it? I think you just kind of like, as you go along the journey, if you remain in truth, then you're going to keep getting shown truth.
Yeah.
If you turn away, you don't want to know anymore, and you become unconscious again, you're probably going to end up in your old programs and the old kind of way. But I think the more conscious you stay, and it's not like being all out there, it's just being conscious. You observe yourself more, don't you?
Yeah.
And it's like when you're in situations now, you're more observing people's behaviour than what they're saying.
Yeah.
Every day, it's like having constant out of body experience, isn't it? Wherever you go, you're just you're more observing them than actually listening to anything. Not that sounds wrong, but then actually getting involved in any drama, shall we say, or anything like that. It's more kind of observing. I don't know if I've gone slightly off on this. This is your fault.
No, that's
encouraging me to have half a lager.
Yeah.
It's going to be so much more sensible than
Yeah.
this.
No, but no, exactly right. I mean, you do start to observe things, and you do start to notice things. But what you were
Yeah.
saying, what you said earlier on about again, we know that there's distractions, but we can easily
Mm,
distract ourselves. It's like let's
mm,
just say me working on, let's say, a bunch of songs in the studio, then working on something else that's nothing to do with music at all, and then working on something else that's nothing to do with either of those two things, and then sitting
mm.
there, before you know it, it's like, what's the main core, not
Yeah, that you got to focus because
what
this. Yeah,
yeah, what's the core
this is.
of what's going on? And I think
Yeah,
there's four things. I think there's four things. And if we can blame people, we can shout and holler at them, we can point these people out. Me and Sarah both listened to this Fakeologist and Mr. E podcast the other night, and Mr. E was like brutal at the end, in a
yeah,
humorous
yeah,
manner, but he was brutal at the end,
yeah,
and rightly
yeah.
so, rightly so. I saw a guy a long time ago, a priest, and whether he was real or not, I don't know, but he said people have to be mentally prepared, because what is coming, and it is not going to be for the faint-hearted, right? And what Mr. E said on this end of this podcast, he was pretty brutal, but he was 100% correct. But there was nothing negative about it. It was 100% reality.
Yeah, I did watch the end. He's talking about what the Bible, in the Revelations, isn't he? I don't know which
Yeah, but he
specific
but
one.
he was also. I mean, he also was also along the lines of, and obviously we'll get into this with the prepping
Mm.
thing. But the
Mm.
first thing that happens is civil unrest. That's the first thing
Yeah,
that happens. It
yeah,
always has. It always will.
yeah,
Are you going
yeah,
to be prepared for that? And
yeah.
don't go, it ain't gonna ever happen to me, mate. You're being a little bit negative here. It's like, really? Well, I hope for your sake it doesn't. But if it does, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
You know?
The thing is, if you're prepared, then you're going to feel a lot better with what could potentially come, aren't you?
Yeah, and whether it's a hurricane or a tidal wave, we live by the beach, or like my
Mm.
mate who lives in Florida. My friend's parents have just gone back to Florida, and apparently the day they arrive, they're expecting really bad hurricane weather.
Yeah,
Those people that live in Florida are constantly prepared for that
yeah,
kind of event. So it doesn't
yeah.
necessarily mean you've got to have thousands of zombies running up the
No,
road.
but as well, it's kind of that what we potentially want is to be able to look after ourselves again, isn't it? Not relying on systems, So it's that being able to take care of yourself,
Basic instincts.
and yeah, that with like everyone's lost because
We're all weak.
yeah, yeah. So,
We're all
so
weak,
actually
pathetic
learning,
people.
yeah. So learning those skills again isn't a bad thing.
And it's really
Yeah,
interesting, and also a lot
yeah,
of fun. I mean,
yeah,
I've said this, and I know you got to get going, so I'll just end on this. What we're going to do is
yeah.
going to end on this one because Sarah's got to go off and I don't know, get her nails painted or something like that. Something like that. She's got to
My
do.
eyelashes.
Get her
done.
eyelashes done. Apparently they're great eye protectors if someone starts swinging. But so what we're gonna do is we're gonna sign off this one. We're gonna carry on with it tomorrow, and it's gonna be a proper two-parter. But I said the other day, and we talked about, like, if it really comes to a massive head, the whole thing. The only people who are gonna make it through, people who are prepared, and I would also say, and again we might be repeating ourselves, but you look at the indigenous people, the Aborigines,
Yeah.
people like that, people in Africa who think nothing of
Yeah.
walking for 2 miles to get a bucket of water. Do you
Well,
think?
I know where my nearest borehole is
Yeah,
anyway. I've already made that connection.
yeah. But do you think that your Instagram models, and all that
Of course they
no
do.
disrespect, they're not going to last 5 minutes. I mean, and I think it's a very
Yeah.
sad case of affairs. And why is
Yeah.
it? Why do you think that they never teach any of this kind of thing in school? They should.
Mm,
That's why kids.
no.
That's why kids used to go to the Scouts And the Girl Guides and everything, they learnt how to camp. They learnt how to. I mean, I know it's still in existence, but you very, very rarely hear of it anymore. Nobody ever pushes that kind of thing. But it really is time for people to start to realise that perhaps at some point they will turn the power off. Then what are you going to do? You know.
Yeah,
So we're gonna carry on with that tomorrow. We've sort of rambled on a bit as usual, but we haven't chatted for a while, have we, properly?
No,
But we're gonna have another go tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to talk about prepping. That's all we're going to talk about. Just prepping. We're going to, we've got a few lists.
I just hope I get enough kind of warning so I can get the eyelashes redone and the haircut before it all kicks off.
You'll have to get your own, get all your eyelashes and have them indoors, ready to go and teach your daughter how to do it for you. You'll be self-contained. It's like this.
I've got to start getting my priorities straight.
There's 50 gallons of water, 400 rounds of ammunition, 2 machine guns, and a massive box of fake eyelashes. There's no problem, mate. You'll be fine.
And a box of hair dye as well. I need to get stocked up on hair dye.
Yeah, because of course, you when you're running down the road and the zombies are chasing after you, got to look good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it for part 1. It's for Friday night, or it's coming up, going to be Friday night. So that's it for part 1, and thanks for hanging in there with us as usual. And goodbye from me and Sarah till the next part tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.